What's up, team? We got a little late start, but this is the I Love San Bernardino County radio show on 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and 102.3 FM. And we also have live stream, and you can check out all that information on the web on kcaa.com. We definitely would like to give thanks for Martin Luther King Jr. and on his birthday, and hope that he would, even though he was against a lot of drug use and things, hopefully he would understand medicine and the aspects we're going at it in this day and time. Carmel Cares, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm getting over the flu.
Oh, the flu. The flu sucks.
It sucks.
Everybody's getting it, and it's a dangerous flu.
Yeah, that's, I didn't have it as bad as the rest of the world, but it's no joke. It was no joke.
I've been okay so far, but I've been trying to wash my hands and drink lots of water and try to stay healthy. But I heard it's a beast when you get it. So everyone, I hope you're healing if you got the flu. Today we have an incredible show. We got Eddie Funkster with the psilocybin initiative and his beautiful wife Gigi, and we got Amos Pimienta, right? Yeah. All right, and she is a Kcaa woman who has been very outgoing on Instagram and kind of changed the way people look at cannabis and women, I think, in our little network, right?
Yes, it has. Yeah.
And then Shannon Maxwell, she is the Director of
the Legend of the Arrowhead, which is actually also a fundraising gala for the survivors of the Inland Regional Center tragedy in 2015. We're trying to get as much support, awareness as possible for the people who still need some medical attention.
So you can check out the website, and we'll get to that in a little bit. There was one more thing I was going to mention. Oh, yeah, Tia Lisa, More Than Edibles or Plant Organics opens tomorrow in San Bernardino, so you can look them up, Plant Organics on Instagram. And we had them on the show last week, and they're going to start a CBD store here in San Bernardino and manufacture their THC stuff over there in Murrieta.
They said it was the soft opening, I believe, on the 16th, and they'll have the grand opening, I think they said, on the 23rd.
Okay, all right. So check out their Instagram and see what's up. And anything you need to add about the mayor's race or anything coming up? You are running for mayor, right?
Yes, I am running for mayor June 5th, 2018. And this is a county-wide show, so the only thing I'd like to say is people need to pay attention in their local elections, because San Bernardino is not the only local election coming up. And if you don't pay attention in your local elections, then you cannot make a difference on a bigger scale. So a lot of people, they just pass on local elections, or they don't vote, or they don't pay attention. And I just really want to urge people in every single city of the county of San Bernardino, please start paying attention, because they are spending our taxpayer dollars, and our money is not being spent correctly.
They want to shut us up.
And we need to be paying attention to the school districts and how the school districts spend our money. And because they're not really necessarily spending it to the best interests of our children. They spend more money on school police than they spend on anything else. And, these are our kids. These are the future generation of the world. So, people, we got to wake up. I know we're busy. I know we got to go to work. I know we got our lives. I know we get stuck in traffic. But you know what? For the sake of your children and my children and your children's children, you guys need to at least pay attention at that local level. Thanks. That's what I got to say.
Go to now. How do they do this? You can go to your meetings. You can go to your neighborhood watch meetings.
Go to your city's homepage. You can go to any city's home webpage, and you can start to navigate around it. And it will tell you when the council meetings are. It will let you read things. It will let you pay attention. Or like the school board, go down to the school board in San Bernardino. I know they're on 7th and F. In Riverside, I'm not sure where they are, but if you Google Riverside School Board or Riverside School District, you can start paying attention and attending those meetings. I think in San Bernardino they're the third Thursday of the month, but these meetings are out there, and they are educating our children, and they are spending our money, or not educating our children and not properly spending our money. And we all just whether you vote for me or whether you vote, just vote in your local election And
Get registered first.
get registered, but a lot of people are registered and they just don't vote.
That is true. That
So
is true.
I just want to tell you to pay attention and to vote, because your local election goes straight from the register of voters straight to your city clerk, and then it's law. It doesn't have to go through Congress, doesn't have to do all the things that a federal election. And I'm going to say this once again, that if we pay attention in our cities, then our cities will hold our counties accountable. And if our counties are held accountable, then our states are held accountable. And then and only then can our federal government be held accountable. But if we at the bottom here,
We the people.
because that's where it starts from, and if we're not paying attention in our local election, really we can't make a difference on the bigger scale, because our voice would never get
I
there.
have a question.
Yep.
All right, what's going on with the judge? Did he send out a letter yet?
No, the judge has not sent out a letter, but I don't.
Measure O.
For Measure O, no, but I don't know if you guys saw on Facebook, Gigi Hanna said that somebody else turned in an ordinance.
Yeah.
So I got a copy of the ordinance, and I'm making a few changes to the ordinance, and I do plan to send it over to the attorney that turned it in, and hoping they can make the few changes that I see necessary, because otherwise it was a pretty good ordinance. But there's some things.
Who did it? Who?
I don't know.
They're pretty secretive about.
Right,
That,
they are, and so I don't know. I haven't really been out in the world since like Friday, because we ditched out of school on Friday.
No,
and I
it
hung
just
with my,
seems shady to me if you don't put your name on there.
well,
man.
somebody
Yeah,
did, but
yeah.
you know that's not who the backing person is. But what I wanted to say is that I'm going to change a few things, and if they don't want to change a few things, then I'm going to turn right around and use their whole ordinance that they paid, an attorney to write, minus the few things I change, and turn it right on in. Okay.
If it's a good template, it's a good template.
It's good. That's what I'm saying. Like, it said a lot of things that needed to be said. I mean, it's 25 pages. You could probably do it in 2, but it kind of explained things, And then there was some things in there that I was like, oh yeah, it would be necessary for you to explain those things to the city, So I liked it. I feel bad for the city, because then they're going to get into another position, and then it's going to be 3 ordinances. So, we the people are going to need to stick together, pick one, and if we really want cannabis in San Bernardino, then we're going to have to get it done, because we got too much going on, and we're the laughing stock, and nobody's paying attention.
We got strip club weed.
Oh yeah, they opened now. Hey, the strip club is still open.
Yeah.
They put a wall or something, and so they got the marijuana dispensary here, so you totally separate interest, and then they have the strip club.
we
So
can
now
get
that
strip
the
club.
alcohol,
They got Flesh and Hash now?
Yeah.
but not
Damn.
together. You have to go outside.
I don't mind
Why?
it, but I'd like a museum in hash.
I'm down
too.
with
I'd
flesh
like,
and hash.
I like coffee and hash.
Ass and hash?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. I'm sorry. Sorry, engineer, the button again.
Hey, well, they should change the name to that. Ass and hash.
All day. I want my 3% for founder's fee.
No, they did change the name, didn't they?
No, they didn't. On
Yeah,
one
oh.
side of the building, it's the Flesh Club, and then when you drive to the other side of the building, which is the marijuana, it's called Captain Jack's.
Man, I'm going to have
Really?
fun
Yeah.
putting. I'm going to put.
I drove through there yesterday just to check it all out. 'Cause
Oh,
someone told me about
sure.
it.
I'm gonna make a
No, I
review.
didn't go in. I didn't go in.
I'm going to make a review. I'm going to say that everything tastes like front butt. It's all front butt in that place.
Wait. Did you go in there and ask for a campaign donation?
Hey,
No, I
look-
didn't get out of my car. I was really in my
Oh,
pajamas.
all the rest of politicians were in front of you?
All right in there.
No.
I just wanted to check it out. I was downtown, but I got away from my kids for 10 minutes, and I drove downtown with my aunt, and I said, I wanted to check out, and so I was
it
in my
out.
pajamas. I
Ladies'
drove
night over
through.
there,
Do you get a
or-
discount
Oh,
at
it
Captain
was in
Jack's?
the middle of
Or
the day, okay?
Do you get a coupon for a 2-for-1 dance at Captain Jack's for Club Flesh? That's like good stuff right there. That's good
were they
advertising.
giving out free grams to get you to go?
Surprisingly,
Ooh.
the parking lot wasn't even packed.
Oh,
There
damn.
wasn't even any, they're not on weed maps. And to me, I'm thinking that because they closed their dispensary in Upland, I'm thinking that they're maybe going to bring their Upland, crowd. But I don't know.
They won't come here.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But and 2, because in Upland, they're right next to the strip
that
club
was
too.
weird. That was just
What?
weird. That whole Upland thing, shutting that down.
Well, it's been a long time fight. I think they finally gave up because they got their license here in San Bernardino.
It just seems to me like they don't. Those are the kind of guys that don't give up. They just go to another angle.
Nobody
right?
gives up in this movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Roger
time,
Diamond, he's
dude.
never going to give up.
I think they just do it because they like to mess with Upland and San Bernardino. I really do, man.
Well-
and they got the money to do it.
Roger Diamond in San Bernardino, he feels like San Bernardino owes him $750,000. you know, I mean, to each their own. But, you know, that guy, he does not take no for an answer.
All right, so we got the neo shaman in the house today.
I like that. That was pretty cool how you said that. That was interesting. I did
I-
dig that on face. What is that?
Well, I said neo
all
medicine,
face.
neo medicine man, and neo shaman. And what I'm trying to say is that, for some of us, our medicine man ways and our shamanistic ways were stolen from us when Constantine and the Romans came into England and and basically made us follow the Western civilization way of
Well, it
life.
actually started in China.
Yeah.
Chinese started taking over Siberia, and they started whacking all of the shamans and getting rid of the culture and moving more towards religious based.
Yeah, and then it's easier to control the masses.
Definitely.
Yeah, but the opening of the mind was discouraged, and I always thought that was when you grow as a human and throughout thousands of years doing something, and then you just rip it out in 100 years. To me, that seems weird.
Yeah, but what they can't do is that what they don't understand is human beings is that we all sit here and we believe that we're like, we go to these doctors and they tell us, so you're going to get cancer because your mom has cancer, your dad has cancer. That's a complete lie because we're the actual DNA building blocks of our entire life form of ancestry from the beginning of mankind. We're actual hybrids of hundreds of thousands of human beings that walk this earth, and today we are chosen to be here today. So we're complete hybrids of all of our ancestries from the beginning of time. So we are not...
What a good cannabis way to think about that.
Yeah,
man.
we're
When
not that special.
If you bred cannabis, you'd like, wow, that makes...
For sure.
Yeah.
It's the evolution of humankind, and they just take it away from us that we don't know what's right. Our ancestors, the ones that ate the first plants that killed us, that whole intuition was still in their spirit. And when their children raised up and they seen those plants, it's kind of like when you walk down a dark alley and you get that icky feeling, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't go down this alley. Maybe some ancestors somewhere down your bloodline that's sitting inside your chest was like, don't go down that alley. That's why I'm in your chest.
Yeah.
I got whacked in that alley, man.
Yeah.
Don't do that. You know, so that's our intuition. Those are our ancestries inside of us. We need to believe in them. We need to
And
listen
follow
to them.
Yeah, your
Totally.
intuition. Like, I can't tell people enough, especially with love and important decisions. You need to follow your intuition. It's
Definitely.
right. If it's telling you no, 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 listen.
But the problem is that we can't, because everything is vibrating our vibration from our internal self. It's the radio music, the frequency of our sound, our engine in our car, the microwaves, the vibration that goes through our cell phone is all to take away our conductivity of our own from us being grounded to earth. And that's where our ancestry sits. So they make all these things. They put shoes, they spray the skies, they put all these preservatives and chemicals in our food and our waters, and it's to, completely calcify our pineal gland so that we're not, absorbing the natural solar system. How there's the ebb and flow of the ocean. That's us too. That's our emotions, and all these things are being blocked and guided by and guarded by all these things that they give us in our diet and all these normal things they do that they call society upon us to have a job, work 9 to 5, get a 401k and slave, and hopefully the government will get rid of your money. So when you're 70 years old, you can still, do something, not be a front door checker at Walmart, not because you want to, because you have to.
Yeah,
And
to raise your kids or pay rent or whatever. Yeah.
The way society tells us.
The
Yeah.
Western way, and that definitely doesn't involve much shamanism
Not at
or
all.
understanding of these. Now, so you're taking this formal. I mean, this is a cannabis master here, team, who has had his photographs in
Thank
High
you.
Times before most people would even admit that they would even touch weed. Period.
Yeah.
So you're going to the next stage.
Yeah, I mean, from growing cannabis in Europe to, as Carmel was a classmate of mine at San G High School in the 90s. So we both went to the same school together. So I'm not like any type of special person that fell from the sky. I went to San G High School up the street with her. So
He's
And-
a San Bernardinian.
you know what I'm saying? From East LA to San Bernardino, I'm from Southern California and I'm based here. And when I was a sophomore in high school, I wrote an article for my English teacher, and we had to do a controversial article we had to write about. People wrote about Hitler and the Jews and all these things, and I picked magic mushrooms and shamans. I was 14, 15 years old.
that's
I don't know where it
incredible.
came from. My whole history and culture comes back to when I was 10, hearing that the Star Spangled Banner that I love so much from Jimi Hendrix was played with 10 hits of acid in his bandana. Like, whoa, that's intense. What is LSD? Let me check this out. Let me research this. I started as a kid. I started researching psychedelic rock bands. And I love the Doors. I love Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin. I grew up listening to this kind of music because my family did, and it was very much cultured into me. So when cannabis came along in 1989, I've told the story here before. My uncle died of AIDS, and I was 12. And we started to realize when the medical cannabis movement came that medical cannabis was going to be legal before magic mushrooms, before LSD, before ayahuasca and peyote. And these were all the things that really made a lot of sense to me, and my soul resonated with me really hard into my vibration of who I am internally. So medical cannabis came. Dennis Perone, it passed. Proposition 215 was founded on the AIDS Foundation, the Cancer Foundation, or the Cancer Movement. And so in that, I was like, well, hey, I know how to grow weed. I'm from the hood, you know. So we learned how to grow weed. We started
the
moving
cannabis
herb.
capital of the world, right?
Totally, you know what I mean? I went to Humboldt, learned how to grow weed in Humboldt, and it was really fun doing that and helping people with cancer and AIDS patients. You started realizing, like, wow, we can give people this product that can be easily grown. It doesn't take a lot of skills to grow cannabis, and you can heal tons of problems, from ADHD to seizures to dementia, Alzheimer's, cancers, AIDS, sickle cell anemia. Man, I can go on. I've helped so many thousands of weird disorders that
You've really tested these on human patients.
every single one of them. We come from the projects. Projects don't have a lot of good money or any type of good guidance for health. And so you go into the doctor and you get brainwashed to take all these medications, and the hood dies pretty bad. The ghettos die pretty terrible. And so when you meet, you know, meet these people, and they're very loving people. They're very compassionate people. They're very content in what they have in life, but they're very acceptive of, this is who I am. I have cancer. I have AIDS. I have these things, and I have to die like this. And so when I walk in there, they're like, this is the only options the doctors give me. So we said, well, we have this product. They're like, well, I go to the dispensary, and OG Kush is $80 an eighth. I was like, well, here's some clones. Let me teach you how to grow. It costs you $40 to grow a quarter pound of weed.
Grow your own indoors right now, but later on, hopefully.
Yep. So I started teaching people. In 2000, 2001, I started teaching cancer and AIDS patients how to grow cannabis, how to take care of themselves, not go into dispensaries. At the time, there was only one. It was called Compassionate Caregivers, the Yellow House, and it was in Hollywood on La Brea. So that was, and then when they raided them, nobody had nothing. There was zero access. And so I learned back then that we can help all these people. We can beat these ailments and stuff. But one of the things that wasn't happening, and I learned when I was 15 in high school, was the shamans and the shamanic work that they were doing with medicinal psychedelic mushrooms, medicinal mushrooms, ayahuasca, which is two plants in the rainforest that are put together, the bark of one tree and the leaves of another, and it actually puts you into this spiritual state for 5 to 6 hours where you get kissed on your forehead by the amazing omega bliss of nature. Mother Awa, she shows you who you are. Some people go through some pretty intense, you know, pretty intense trips, they call them, and you can actually go through some pretty bad turmoil. It all depends who you are in your soul. If you're a loving, caring person with charismatic inspiration, you're going to have a very, very inspirational time. It's going to teach you the future. It's going to show you how we need to help the planet, how we need to help each other. It's the vibration of the earth. These are the plants that grow in the rainforest and have been here for thousands and thousands of years.
When I studied some of the videos that you've shared about shamans, they're always guided. The people under the influence were being like shown a road or guided on the road that they were creating or whatever, but they were never alone.
No, never.
Feed off themselves.
There's an amazing spirit in these medicines. You know, San Pedro, you know, mescaline, all these peyotes, all these other things that they call witchcraft and, you know, warlock, all this stuff that they do when people that use them. That's what happened when religion culture started coming in and started slaughtering the Siberian shamans, the shamans in the Aztec culture when the Spaniards came.
Right here in San Bernardino, the medicine men were genocided.
Definitely.
They would have been the first to be like, hey, wait, 1 second. And that was not the thing to do.
And so what's happening now is what we believe is what the shamans in the Amazon have told me, and I believe this also, the medicine has also said this too, is that the medicine is waking up now. The consciousness of the earth is tired of the turmoil and the pain. There's too many people of souls that have left this planet and went to another place and said the turmoil is here. And so I do believe that the jungles are waking up. These plants are waking up. And now we're on this new movement where we passed cannabis and it's been slaughtered by Proposition 64 and a lot of...
And big money.
Yeah, and it's just terrible. I mean, I had a license in Washington. I had a license here in California for growing cannabis. And I have no interest in growing cannabis for the United States government whatsoever. So
well, wait a second. Will you grow cannabis for me once in a while?
All day. You all day, brother. So now it's to the point where I go and I teach people how to make Rick Simpson oil. They call it Rick Simpson oil. I don't call it Rick Simpson oil. I call it NHO because it's native healing oil. Rick Simpson doesn't call it Rick Simpson. He calls it Phoenix Tears. So we've helped a bunch of people with this product beat cancer, beat all kinds of ailments. And if they didn't beat the cancer, if they passed on, they actually passed on with a lot of dignity and compassion towards their loved ones and their family. And that's what's really more important as us living is just understanding love and compassion and inspiration. Because we're shooken on this religious thing that we're born from sin, and every day we have to pray to the Creator of, I'm sorry that my parents had a fun night and I'm here because I was born into guilt. That's a complete lie. A complete lie. When you take these medicines and these entities come to you and they carry you with tons of love and they just caress your soul with nothing but compassion and love, you actually start to realize that, no, I'm born in creation. I'm here to create. I'm here to move forward in the things that people are clouded in, because that's where I come from. At a time of my birth, I was in this portal and I was standing there with other amazing beings, as all of us are here on this planet. And I chose. It was like, I'm jumping in right now and I'm going. And my family members were there and they're like, go. And I went and I'm here. This is my time. And I always had this joke when I was in high school that I was born in the wrong generation because I was supposed to be here in the 60s. But as no, I understand a lot of what the 60s were, what they're doing with LSD, what they're doing with psilocybin research. You know, people are tripping out on, I'm here to talk about the California psilocybin legalization issue.
Let's hear this.
You know, we're trying to decriminalize magic mushrooms. Well, actually, it's psilocybin. It's the actual substance that grows inside. It's the chemical inside of the mushrooms that make you feel fuzzy and good and a little trippy. Some people
there's lots of varieties of mushroom that contain psilocybin, right?
So this is why I'm here. This is the CPLI. We're trying to decriminalize psilocybin for anybody over the age of 21. We're trying to open up research. We're trying to get the conversation rolling.
Okay.
We're not trying to have a bunch of people tripping on the freeways, jumping out of 10-story buildings. We're trying to come at this in a very respectful, conservative manner.
And he's not joking there, because it's just like Jack Daniels. If you overdose on a drug, it can be bad.
Definitely. And at the same time, when you go to Amsterdam and you can purchase psilocybin mushrooms, you get them in truffles and they're very low dose. And you can only have like a microdose, like 2 grams, and that's not enough to put you through a heavy trip.
In Thailand, they give them out in cans at Muay Thai events.
Yep.
So when I heard that from my sensei back in the day, I was like, it can't be that bad if they're selling them at sporting events, right?
Yeah, and so the whole culture of it was pretty interesting because, you know, in 1948, Albert Hofmann figured out LSD in a lab in Europe, you know, and it was a complete accident. And when he tried it on himself, he was blown away. It was called LSD 25, and they put it away, and they didn't want to work with it for a few years. The government took it, and some psychiatrists took it, and so they were working with it back in the 50s, in the early 50s. And then what ended up happening was a writer from, I can't remember his name at the moment, from Time Life magazine went to Mexico and he wrote a story about Maria Sabina, who is a shaman in Mexico, and she was helping people with Amanita muscaria, which is a psychedelic mushroom. And so she was doing all this really heavy, intense healing of alcoholism, schizophrenia, nicotinism, people caught up in drugs. And so she was been helping people for years there.
You just mentioned all the reasons why a lot of the homeless are in our parks right now.
Exactly. And nobody wants to address mental health.
Nobody wants to step up and help.
It wasn't ISIS that drove that guy to shoot up San Bernardino. It was his mentality. It was his mental being. It was his mind state that felt that murder was the only tool for him to be accepted in his society. Unfortunately, we were the victims of that, and every day that happens in schools, in works, in jobs, in homes. Mental illness is a very tragic thing in human culture. And one of the things that has been a great tool for human culture were these tools of psychedelics that grow naturally, like mushrooms, like ayahuasca, like peyote. And these things were, you know, mushrooms grow. I lived here my whole life, but I moved to Washington for 2 years to have a license there a few years ago. And so I got deep into mushroom hunting up there, and I started learning a lot about them. And one of the things, we ran across this group of people, and they're like, "What are you guys doing?" I said, "Oh, we're mushroom hunting." I said, "You guys, please be careful." You know, a good friend of ours went mushroom hunting, and they had a dinner for 5, and 3 of them died. Please be careful. There's very deadly mushrooms here. And so that really spoke heavy volumes to me. Being from Southern California, buying mushrooms at a rave, at a party, $20, get an eighth, everything was hunky-dory. I never in my mind ever knew that a mushroom can kill you like that. So, and instantly, literally that day, I went home and I started to research about what's going on in mushrooms. Then I found out I was living in the most abundant area in the world for fungus. I lived in a rainforest, the country's only rainforest in the Pacific Northwest. And I lived there, and I was living in an abundance of mushrooms with tons of mushroom growers and researchers. And I was finding that there's mushrooms that beat diabetes, help dementia, stop Alzheimer's, induce neurogenesis of the brain and reconnect neuroconnectors. Like, there was tons of things that were happening.
Eat oil, toxic waste, diesel, all the way down.
And then I found out there was 6 million mushrooms and fungus in the fungal family. 6 million species, families, relatives. And out of one of those 6 million...
Is that initiative? Does it have...
No, none of this. This initiative is just about one family.
Okay,
6 million of them. Okay. Out of all those 6 million, one family has 26,000 members.
So
one of them...
The illegality of... Do they make it psilocybin illegal, or
It's
is it
psilocybin? Yes.
psilocybin, or is it
Not psilocybe mushrooms.
Okay.
Just psilocybin.
Okay, so not the gamut of all the different types of mushrooms, just the substance.
Exactly.
itself.
But this is why I'm here to talk, is
Yeah.
because there's other mushrooms. Mushrooms just have a bad rap. If you're not buying them in Stater Brothers or your local grocery store, people kind of freak out on them because they grow in your yard, and everybody thinks they're poisonous and they're deadly. And there's a lot of poisonous, deadly ones that are growing out here. But that's why I wanted to explain that in all these, there's only like 200 psychedelic mushrooms, psilocybe mushrooms, that are
200,
documented
huh?
at the moment.
Wow.
That's it. Out of 6 million that grow on the earth.
Do you think there's probably more that they'll find? Or?
I'm sure there's
Oh,
more.
yeah.
That's why we're in the research, and there's
That's
tons
what
of
you wanna
research
know.
out there, like Paul Stamets and Alan Rockefeller, that have been doing
Are
a
they
lot
as,
of work
are
on
they
finding
as
them.
varied as cannabis in the effects?
Psilocybin pretty much works about the same. I mean, everybody's mentality and personal preference is going to actually change the way the trip is. And the mushrooms some of them are pretty strong and intense. And it's like anything else. If you grow in a very good condition, you're going to have a very well put together product. And we have some very expert mushroom growers that grow extremely well mushrooms that have a good product in them, and they also synthesize psilocybin because they've been doing tons of research. Dennis McKenna's been doing research in Massachusetts with psilocybin, and that's what Timothy Leary started his research with at Harvard, was with psilocybin, and then he went on to LSD, and that's where a lot of our information of understanding these things for psychiatrics is how they actually work with cleansing the mind and getting us into new steps and getting out of our past and our turmoils that don't let us move forward in our inspiring days of living. And so in that, these tools are brought here because cannabis has helped a lot of people that are fighting cancer. I had a talk with somebody the other day on a hike, and they're like, humans are going to die. They're all going to go one day. I said, exactly. Why do you think cancer's here? It's trying very, very hard. And so what we're trying to do is to understand with a lot of cancer patients that we work with, the University of Johns Hopkins did a great research in 2000 with, terminally ill cancer patients, and them using psilocybin and actually getting them through the anxiety and depression that they were getting from end-of-life expectancies. And that's a huge burden upon a human being when they get the ultimate diagnosis of, hey, you got 6 months to live, you better start getting your affairs in order.
And it's helping them, huh?
It tremendously is. It's getting to the point where they can actually experience spirituality in themselves, something that you can't find in thousands of hours of therapy, that this medicine actually connects you to a divine entity that makes you feel like, you're right. And the crazy thing is that out of 100% of people that did this study, that have done these studies, they've already said that 70% of the people that had the most amazing experience of their life, the most profound experience, has stayed with them their whole entire life, whether they used it again or not. Psilocybin mushroom, the effect that they had from it was very profound, whether it moved them forward in life and it got over their things. Only 30% of the people said they didn't enjoy the experience, but it had no lasting effects and nothing terminally happened to them.
That doesn't
didn't
sound
stick to
crazy.
them ever.
That sounds life-changing.
It definitely is
even if
life-changing.
even if you have a negative experience.
Definitely. Now, I don't know where the state of California and the people are with legalizing psilocybin. I'm here to say, of course, vote yes for it, because I do believe it's a positive thing. We need research for it.
Is it on the ballot?
We're trying to get the signatures right now. We're working on getting 385,000 signatures by April 30th.
Okay.
So I'm working on having a mushroom workshop in Los Angeles on February 11th. We're working on a date right now. I have a massive mushroom farmer that I worked with in Washington. He's flying down here. He's going to be showing classes on how to grow culinary and medicinal mushrooms, like turkey tail mushrooms battle cancer, lion's mane mushrooms beat dementia, and Alzheimer's. Cordyceps mushrooms help with libido and respiratory system. Reishi mushrooms help with respiratory and lung infections. These are all kinds of mushrooms that I grow. And actually, as a matter of fact, where my dad bag is, on the side of the pocket is a reishi mushroom. I brought a mushroom that you can see that's reishi mushroom, which is actually known as the mushroom of immortality.
Okay.
And in Chinese culture, if you actually found this, it's a birch polypore. It's actually not birch. It's a polypore mushroom that grows off of wood, and you put that in a tea, and that can stop a lot of flus, a lot of lung infections, a lot of problems with asthma, and it's a beautiful mushroom. And in Chinese culture, you'd have found that a long time ago, and the emperor would have gave you all kinds of gifts and good blessings for finding the mushroom of immortality. It's a huge tool that the Chinese medicine culture do believe in and using. And so I want to open the conversation about mushrooms, not just psychedelic mushrooms. I could talk all day about that, but I want to talk about medicinal mushrooms. It's reishi mushroom.
Okay.
Mushroom of immortality.
Okay, so say you take say you have depression and you take a microdose of psilocybin. What is that going to do for you?
Well, microdose. So there's been tons of microdose information that's been going on. From what is that? The Silicon Valley doing LSD to psilocybin microdosing for, that's where Google is and that's where YouTube is. There's all these people that are doing all this new network teching things that are going on. Those engineers are microdosing. They're microdosing LSD. They're microdosing psilocybin.
The reason I mention it is because it takes away the stigma.
Sure does, because it's a heroic dose is 3 to 5 grams of mushrooms. I mean, you'll have a heavy, intense trip. You won't be able to walk. You won't be able to talk. The earth will ground you, and some heavy things will tell you some stuff, and you might not like it, and you might. But in the end of the day, you'll be better. I don't believe anybody's actually passed away from being toxically poisoned from psilocybe mushrooms. Now, if they actually add a galerina or an amanita, the death cap, yeah, they're going to go.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the psilocybe mushrooms aren't toxic. They're non-toxic, and that's what we're kind of working on.
They've been used for tens of thousands of years.
Definitely. There's actually little sculptures that are cut out in the Aztec cultures and the Mayan temples of the mushrooms and the toads and the cactus and the ayahuasca, and
40 different bufo toads were used for DMT by the Aztecs or the Mexica. Yeah.
Exactly. So
and I followed the bufo toad all the way up to under the Arrowhead Peak.
Beautiful. We actually just did Vice just did a whole documentary on my shaman, Dr. Jerry, that's doing the 5-MeO DMT bufo toads, and they did a whole special on him. That's been a very amazing piece to see how we use the most heaviest entheogen on the earth for resetting the mind.
They're famous for the tadpoles at 40th Street Wash.
Yeah.
But I thought they were frogs until I learned that they matured in 6 weeks, and then I was like, these are toads.
Yeah.
And then I started following the bufo all the way down, just following the home range.
Yep.
Turns out it goes right to the Aztecs, and I'm like, wow, they did that, but you can't. It's hard to prove that
because they
kind of
burned
stuff,
the Spaniards burned all the libriaries and all the history of that culture had, and that culture had
But the god was bewitched by a toad, and he took his staff and he knocked it into the ocean, and he pulled 3 white lines on him. Very interesting.
That's a cool one.
Because pulling they have to eat ants, right? They have to eat a special type of ant, and then they get enough DMT in them to be milked or whatever.
Yep. And that's the strongest entheogen on the earth. What entheogen is a substance that brings you closer to God. And cannabis is an entheogen, mushrooms are an entheogen, ayahuasca, peyote, those are all entheogens.
Mescaline,
mescaline grows in the peyote, yes.
So San Pedro, is San Pedro illegal?
No, if you process it, yes.
Yeah, mescaline is illegal. The same thing with the mushrooms.
Yes.
The species isn't, but the substance is. Is
the
that
chemical inside of it, yes.
It's the same way with cannabis too, right?
No, cannabis is legal all the way around.
But,
it's all the way
but it
up.
just grows in there.
Yes, it's just
So
it's a natural.
naturally growing.
Yes, and so that's where we get into the whole culture of mushrooms. I'll get back into the microdosing thing, because that's a very important thing to me, because this book right here by a gentleman named Terence McKenna is called Fruit of the Gods. And so, Food of the Gods. And what he talks about is how we evolved from monkeys. What he believes is his theory, which is actually, since he said it in the 90s, people thought he was crazy. But now over the last 20 years, people are like, it kind of makes a little bit of sense. Because he talks about us being kind of, before we were Neanderthals, we were walking on all fours, and we would have encountered mushrooms. And he believes that at this time, we would have ate these mushrooms, and this built communication into us and language, and started building communities, and gave us intellect and intelligence because of the psychedelic mushrooms. Terence McKenna, this book will explain a lot of that to you if you ever read the minds of the great visionaries of the planet. And those is where we've actually come to place now, is that Western culture has been saying that no, everything is wrong except for the chemicals that we put together in a lab for you, human beings.
Pay money for this pill.
And we have tons of patients that are dying. Patients to me means family members. It means brothers, sisters, mothers, brothers. And in that, it really bothers me, because these scientists and researchers sit in a room and they're trying to come up with chemicals to make a multi-million dollars, and they believe it has a benefit to society. And at the end of the day, society, if they just walked outside and recognized society, they'd see that there's tons of mental illness out there, and their chemicals are doing far worse than they ever could have helped us. And that's why cannabis has such a drive, because people feel like they belong once they get accustomed to it. And once they get used to it, they feel how much it helps them, and it releases all these stresses and angers that we deal with in life, with our jobs, our bills, our food, our friends, personalities. And these are things that we just can't deal with on a fundamental level, going to therapy and getting over it. We end up taking a Prozac.
Can I ask one of your sort of patients, Amethyst, the first time that you tried shrooms? Yes. What did it do to you? Was it extreme or?
Definitely was more than that, and it was for me to experience a spiritual thing. I wanted to feel closer to my mother who had passed away and my wife who had passed away so closely together. I was dealing with the depression from them, and I was told that if you take these things, that a lot of times they bring you and they make you feel the connection so you don't feel the disconnect anymore, and then it makes life just easier to get through just because you have that lift.
You still have to work.
Oh, yeah.
But
Definitely.
but it's like
just
help.
basically, it just comes in and it kind of just shows you that they're not gone, that they're still there. There's a lot of stigma in that in today's society, and there's a lot of belief like, well, there's ghosts in your home. And I'm not saying it like that. It's just they're there. Their presence there isn't like physical anymore. It's just there. You feel it. And with them both passing so closely, I just felt such a disconnect to a lot of things in life, and I was seeking something to pull me out of my depression, and I was having anxiety, whereas I'd love to be around people. It was really hard to be around people because they looked at me, they knew what I had gone through, and they were just like, they either were like, how are you smiling? So then I was like, oh shoot, I'm smiling. Or why aren't you smiling? Are you okay? And when you go through these things, you want to just be able to feel okay with yourself, and this medication really brought me to that point where I felt like I'm okay. I can deal with these questions and not feel like breaking down, and I feel the connection to them in a way I didn't feel it before using the medication.
Did it feel addictive? Did you feel like you had to do it the next day?
Oh no. It's not something that I would want to do every single day, like to go there. It's definitely something that I felt like, okay, today, when I had done it, because it wasn't a microdose, I wanted to experience it, but I didn't want to be like out around a bunch of people, so I just did it at home, and I felt my experience, and I giggled, and it was very loving, and I felt very warm, and each experience to everybody is different, but mine have all been very great experiences.
Okay.
And it's brought me through a lot of turmoil without having to be in turmoil.
All right, and Gigi, what do you feel about the movement of going from deep in cannabis into the mushrooms and the cactus and things like that? Do you like the transition?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Well, you get a lot of beautiful flowers. I mean, cannabis is a beautiful flower, but you get a lot more variation. Yeah,
beautiful, vibrant, like colors. When they flourish, you can feel their presence, and it's not just a flower. For me, it's a little bit more. About 3 years ago, my dad passed away. I was in Washington, and I got really depressed because I wasn't close to my dad to get to him. He got sick, and then he passed away, so I wasn't around for that. And so I had went down there to do the viewing and all that stuff, and to his funeral, and it was very hard. And when we went out there, my husband went out for a walk, and he felt that my dad took him out there to talk to him because it got really heated at the funeral because people were saying certain things, and it just got really bad. And
sometimes it happens.
Yeah. So, but I mean, things had to be said, and certain people didn't like it, and so when my husband stepped out, he felt that my dad showed him a whole nother way of life, and appreciate and see different things, and there's other beauty out there, and he took me out there and showed me these beautiful cactus flowers, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. I didn't even know cactus had flowers, you know. And so now when we came back to Washington, he was like on fire, like, I need to do cactus, I need to grow cactus. And then he wanted to grow cactus so I can be happy, because he's seen how beautiful the flowers put the smile, and he felt that it was a connection from my dad, and he, next thing you know it, I had a complete backyard full of cactus, and it was so funny. It was like last year, last year when they bloomed, it was amazing. It was like my dad was there all the time, And like, so when I step outside and I see these flowers, they're more to me than just a beautiful flower or a cactus. You know, it's my dad, and I love him. And so from going from cannabis to mushrooms, I think it's really good, because mushrooms help with so many different things. And it
And
helped,
I didn't
and it
hear
helped
you guys
me.
say, legalize heroin. Yeah, or crack. You know, yeah.
Shoot your local heroin dealer. I support that cause all day. But you know, the thing that I really wanted to focus with them was that, you know, religion teaches you that when you pass away. I was raised Catholic, and you know, I'm kind of Christian, kind of right now still. I believe in God and all those things. Amen. But they teach you that when your loved ones pass away, they kind of get on a rocket ship and they go past Saturn. And so everybody's like crying, like, oh my God, they're gone. They're not even there. When I took these psychedelics and stuff, it actually brought me closer to them, to where when I did the toad, I took 5-MeO DMT. I actually felt like I was in the halls of my ancestors, and they stood there with them, with the loved ones that were here with me at a time that passed. Every single patient that I helped that died, they were all there, and they're all happy, loving, and they were caring, and they were pushing love into me, and they were upset that I was there because it wasn't my time, they said. What are you doing here? And it was because of the medicine I was taking, but I believe that thrusted me into the spirit world. And so in that, I learned that they're not on a rocket ship and gone. They're actually right inside of my chest.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that story was earlier. I was trying to explain to you guys. They
Yes.
don't, when your loved ones leave, when you feel that, oh my God, they're gone, there's this feeling that you get, kind of like when you break a bone and you get this hot sensation through your body. That's them downloading themselves into your heart, into your brain, into your galactic conductivity to the solar system, to who we are. We're energies of stardust. We're supposed to be ever going. This is just a step. You're not supposed to say rest in peace. You're supposed to say now he's about to drive harder for spirituality. I'm not time to rest. This is just a place. We're just going to learn for our next step in these dimensions. And so in that, I seen these beautiful, great women that were lost in with these great people that they loved, that have taken their step into the great unknown. So in that, I was like, well, can I help them live? Because when I took these medicines, it showed me death. It put me through death, I believe. And in that, I came back to earth, and I was alive. And I felt like, you know what? There's nothing more I want to do than live. Because dying is super easy. I sat there and watched over 2,000 people die of cancer and AIDS in deathbeds, and I didn't understand that. And when my shaman came, he said, you know what? I've heard about you in Oslo, Norway. I've heard about you in Amsterdam. And they told me they need to come see you. I have a lung infection, and I needed some help. And I gave him turkey tail mushrooms, and we got rid of his infection. And so when he gave me this medicine, and I took it, I never thought that all the years of the stuff that I seen growing up in the projects would go away. Actually, these walls that I have built of why I don't like people, why I can't get along, I have flight or fight. She knows the neighborhood I grew up in, and it's a rough neighborhood. Little Africa was what we were called in, and we lived pretty rough there. And getting out of that and getting out of the hood and being told you're never going to be nothing because you're supposed to just go work at your Walmart or your gas station, and that's all you're supposed to be for the rest of your life, like the elders in the projects. I feel like there was more, and the plants just kept speaking to me and helping people and caring about people, because that's what's not happening in our healthcare system.
The plants speak to me. Sometime I have to show you a little how they speak to me. I've
Please.
seen a little bit. But have they ever, did you ever remember hearing about the legend of the arrowhead?
No.
There?
No, but I'm sure the spirits dance with me every now and then.
All right, well, there are legends of the arrowhead that I have in my book, Native Mega Art, if you want to check that out on Amazon. But you can check out the legends in there, and I'm writing a new book with all the different legends of our San Bernardino's arrowhead. Now, there is a play that has the legend of the arrowhead in it.
Nice.
And we're going to hear a tiny bit about it right now. Please tell us about the legend of the arrowhead.
Well, The Legend of the Arrowhead is a musical theater show. It was written by my aunt, Heather McCluskey. We're all native San Bernardino folk over here. We all grew up, were raised over here.
San Bernardino.
And we do too. And, well, when my aunt was at Cal State San Bernardino, she was in a program and she entered in a contest about the history of San Bernardino, putting it into musical theater, and she won. And so she was able to get it out at the California Theater. They loved it so much that they had it running over and over again throughout the years. But the neat thing about this is it actually shows the history of San Bernardino in a really fun light and kind of a comedic way, but you still learn a lot. And believe me, I would love to get some of your info to post up all over our showgrounds, because we're trying to promote the whole idea of the history of this place, kind of bringing it back, which brings back to, Carmel's whole plan with her, campaign, is bringing back entertainment and, all that rich history, the shopping, bringing back that spot back to San Bernardino, what it once was. Because, speaking of Martin Luther King Day, we were actually the very first place to have a Martin Luther King statue erected in the 80s. And that's in our show. It's a really big deal. It's a very powerful scene. We have a new scene. It's an incredible statue, too. It is. And I actually have, gone by it several times in the last several months because of the show. But, there's a lot of rich history that we kind of have a stigma about San Bernardino and the fact that it's really kind of poor and degraded.
Armpit of Cali.
Well, there's a lot that's come from here, especially even you think of entertainment. We're the home of a lot of people who made it out in the real world in L.A. and all that stuff.
The Rolling
Stones, dude. Wasn't it San Bernardino where Sammy Hagar got his first guitar?
The Guitar Center on East Street?
Yeah,
get down.
That's my place.
That was a spot.
Yeah,
right?
They would play the club on Highland.
Exactly.
You ever play the Rancho Rodriguez? That was a spot.
But see, the fun thing
John
about
F. Kennedy was the elevator.
Oh, yeah.
He used to hold the door of the elevator.
That's Johnson.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Lyndon
Johnson, and that is also in our show. We have a lot of great things in here, but the fun part is this is a fundraising event too. It's to help build up the community, but to support the people in the community who work for us on a daily basis. And
props for Odessa Red.
Odessa, who was in my show, Odessa Red or Rebecca. She.
Shout out.
She's in the show, and she was in the very first original production. She was a student of my aunt's, and I knew her back then. I've been being a part of this show since I was a kid, since I was like 15 years old. So I've kind of followed her journey along with this, which is part of why I decided to bring that show in with this whole idea to bring back the community, to remind them of what our community used to be, and to bring it back again, because I'm not going to go without a fight here in San Bernardino. This is my heart. This is a place I was born, and there is talent out here. There are good people with good spirits and who want to do good for this community.
Yes.
And we don't need to have to fight to do that. We should be able to help each other out, and without having to go against the grain with that, which believe me, this has been very very fun.
How do they get information on the show? And
we have an Eventbrite set up. It's the Legend of the Arrowhead fundraising event for the survivors of the 2015 tragedy for the Inland Regional Center. You can look it up. We'll have updated information. Right now, we're working on getting it placed in Redlands because it's going to be on St. Patrick's Day. Woo! Saturday, St. Patrick's Day in March. And so everybody can go out to the bars afterwards, to our VIP party locations,
green beer.
Have some green beer, whatever. Float your boat.
Any cannabis?
I'm
Cannabis.
hoping, because Miss Carmel Rowe here has been helping us out. We're big supporters of each other, as a matter of fact. And I am a medical cannabis patient and have been for over 10 years. I almost died from pharmaceuticals, and it's changed my life. So
Good.
I'm a big supporter of what she's trying to do, and she's been a big support of what we're trying to do. So Straight Outta Props, Inc., that's our production company. We're a nonprofit organization. We're not trying to put something out there just because we want to be cool. We actually want to try to get the community together and support of these people who, again, work for us every day. They're county workers. They work for people here at the Inland Regional Center disabled people, the people who have been, helping our autistic children, people who have been in car accidents and things who need rehabilitation. These are the people that got hurt, and they haven't had a whole lot of support from insurance and the county, and
They need more
they need more support. And I know it's been a couple years, but it's no excuse. We need to support our fellow man, and what better way than to act locally, right?
So Eventbrite, Legends of the Arrowhead.
Facebook, we're up on there, straight out of Props Inc.
And she can post it on I Love San Bernardino Facebook group, and we'll get it on out there. And how do we get to sign that initiative?
I'm going to try to leave some here with you, Robert. Hopefully you can get some around. We're going to be on February 11th. You can go on to my Facebook page or the psilocybin initiative page on Instagram, and we're going to post up some information. I have a mushroom farmer coming from Washington to teach us how to do culinary mushrooms, how to grow oyster, lion's mane, turkey tails, and he's going to teach us how to grow medicinal mushrooms and culinary mushrooms. And so we're also going to do a signing there, and it's going to be a meet and greet. It's going to be Sunday between 2 and 5.
San Bernardino into a huge regular
they let me.
culinary mushroom.
They let me.
Hey, that would be cool.
I
They
also
let me.
have the initiative, and I'm here locally
She'll
in
have it.
San Bernardino.
She's here locally, yes.
Yeah, and if you guys can hit
I have it at
How do we find you on Instagram?
on Instagram, I'm Amethyst Dabbing Buds.
Whoa,
and-
dabbing, bud. Oh.
Yeah, we do it all. And then we have it at Extractor Depot right here in San Bernardino off of E Street. The Extractor Depot does have the initiative sitting there, so you can, if you're a registered voter in the state of California, you can go sign it. We'll have a few things. That's on Commerce Center and E Street, right behind the Target off of Orange Hill Road. And so Extractor Depot, good friends of mine. I put them in the Sun paper last year, so they're really good people. They'll have the initiative there. Also, too, just to end it real quick, microdosing, yes, it is stopping the stigmatism. 3 to 5 grams of the heroic dose, usually anywhere from 1/10 to 1/4 of a gram every 4 to 6 hours, has been tremendously helping people not freak out, end up in psychiatric wards or jumping out of buildings. They don't see colors, the walls don't melt, and they just feel an intense drive of intuition and inspiration, because depression is we wake up and the same routine we do in our head is every single day that's stuck there. So these mushrooms actually give us a different outlet, and they bounce off of different things in our head to give us new avenues to do new things, and we feel inspired, creative, and we feel like we did something for the day. So I love you guys, and God bless.
So if you haven't registered, go register to vote. And if you're feeling a little depressed or you need to come out of that bad state, have a little mushroom.
And you can register to vote on the California Secretary of State
Carmel
website.
Road,
There you go.
2018.
Yeah.
June 5th.
All right.
Vote for it.
Legends of the Arrowhead. And we are with I Love San Bernardino County. We are.
Out.
Funk's the West Coast.
Now it goes through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City looks oh so pretty.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Hey Ryan, do we have any beer in the fridge?
Nah, I thought you got some.
The game starts in 5 minutes.
And you drank the last beer at midnight on Friday.
I wish there was a place that delivered beer.
Yes, I'm Captain Crafted. I'm here to bring you beer. That's Captain, C-R-A-F-T, apostrophe D. Why? Because there's no E, just a D.